What up? What up? It's Darwin Kelly. I'm here with Akeem Spence. So I'm honored to welcome Akeem Spence, a former NFL defensive tackle, played 9 years in the league, a standout at the University of Illinois. He was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2013. Went on to play for a few different teams. Now he's working with the youth, giving back, being a father. I'm grateful to have this sit down. Feel like it's meant to be.
What up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Can't complain. God is good, man. We woke up today and we got another day to be great, man.
That's a fact. Amen. Amen. So the landscape of college sports looks like a lot different than when we played. So what are your thoughts on NIL?
NIL, name, image, likeness. For some of the things I'm a fan of, and then some of the things I'm not. For instance, I love the fact that players are getting paid. They're getting a benefit of their themselves, because for so long the universities, they had all the benefit, besides throwing the free education in there and free housing and everything like that. So players actually get a chance to go home with a paycheck and, in college start doing things that they say they want to do, help out with their families, help out with some bills at home, things of that nature. So for that aspect, I'm for it, but going back to it, name, image, likeness. Not everybody's gonna get that big NIL deal. Not everybody's gonna walk and be the Shadori Sanders or the Travis Hunters of the world. So, for me, I think it's great. I'm a fan of it. It's good. We're going in the right direction.
No, absolutely. That's certainly the right direction. So for young athletes touching money for the first time, what advice would you give them?
Man, which me? This me sitting here today or young me? That's the better question.
I would say this you.
This me. For athletes touching that type of money, man, the first thing I would say, I know it's going to sound kind of cliche, is get you a financial advisor, especially if you're touching large sums, because you need to start investing early. The earlier, the better, because if you're thinking about going to the NFL, you're thinking about 2-3 years down the line. So I think that money can do good in the market for 2 to 3 years, because what I'm seeing now with the NILs, everybody going to cop a Lambo or everybody going to cop a Maybach. Yeah. And me and you sitting here, we know that's the worst thing you can do, because as soon as you drive it off the lot, the depreciation hits right then and there. But you're not thinking about that as a young man. So that's what I would say. Go get you a financial advisor and put some money in the market, man, and just sit back and know hey, you got some money to spend on campus. Be good with that. You've been broke your whole life, so what's another 2 to 3 years and managing your money pretty good, So
that's a fact. By the market, you talking about the stock market, right?
Stock market, yeah.
Okay. Cool. You get drafted to the Bucks in 2013, and the checks start coming in. Can you? How do NFL players get paid? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Can you walk me through how and what that looks like?
Yeah, I can walk you through my situation. So for me, it was, getting drafted. So, me automatically, I'm like, show me the money, baby. Show me the money. But, everything's a process, once you start learning. So I think I received my first bonus when we were in rookie mini camp, and I believe that was a sum of $100K. So that's when I found about taxes. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking at my boy Jonathan Banks, who was corner at Mississippi State. He went in the second round, and said he was my roommate at the time, and we both looking at our checks. Damn, I'm missing close to almost $100,000. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, yeah, I'm missing almost $1 million. So I'm like, yeah, that's when I learned about, taxes. I'm like, shit, I work for Uncle Sam technically, you know what I'm saying? So taxes, man, it plays a big part. But and then also, some teams, they pay every 2 weeks, and then some teams are bi-weekly, just depending on their pay structure. So it just depends on how they want to pay you out. And then some of the bonus is paid later in that year. That's how my situation was set up.
Got you. So, okay, that makes sense. So you just started speaking about taxes, like we can't avoid it, unfortunately. But can you break down like how that impacts like a player's check?
Oh man, it's big, and also depending on where you're playing at. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I was blessed to be in Florida, so no state income taxes, thank God. But you know, you think about somebody that's playing out in California or New York or something like that. You paying the max. You dang near at 50%. You know what I mean? In taxes and state income taxes. So for you as a player, you gotta, you know, budget yourself. Like, okay, am I gonna rent or am I gonna be a guy that buys? But then, you know, you're a rookie too, so am I gonna be here 4 years? Am I gonna see this contract all the way through? So those are things you gotta think about. You know, while, you know, like, hey, am I in a heavily state, you know, income tax state, you know what I'm saying? So those are things that as a player you gotta think about, and you know, the taxes, it affects it a lot.
Absolutely. So you mentioned like one of the things that athletes should do is to get a financial advisor. What are like some red flags that you would consider with like agents and financial advisors?
Okay, yeah, no. So let's kick it off with the agents, because I had been through a couple agents, and it's just nothing bad about none of them. It's just you got to find an agent that fits you, you know, fits your situation, fits what you're doing, because not everybody's going to be signing, you know, your rookie cards, getting that type of, you know, off the field money. You know, you just got to be kind of realistic, and so you got to really find an agent that fits you and wants to work for you, and one that can get you some money off the field if that's what you're trying to do. It's just your situation, your dynamic. You know, you gotta pick a good agent. And also with agents now, I tell dudes, negotiate the percentage. It doesn't have to be 3. It could be 1.5 or 2, or like you see some of these guys now hiring their moms and dads, you know, so it doesn't have to be an agent, or you can have a lawyer, you know, a sports attorney look over the contract. You pay him a fee. If you're comfortable with it, roll with it. And moving on to the financial advisors, man, just some for me, I'm just gonna speak on my situation mainly, but with financial advisors, man, like I said, my father helped me find mine, and me and him kind of grew together, and it was just a situation where he was at Bank of America at the time, so you know, you get a financial advisor at a bank, you know, you're kind of handicapped. Like you only can do so much, you know, like you can't get too aggressive. You know, the bank's gonna protect your money. But like I said, we kind of grew together, and I started learning about the money market game, and you know, the capital gains taxes, and you know, your Roths. You know, I had a financial advisor that kind of educated me, and like when it came to like buying houses or wanting to invest in the business, he was kind of right there telling me, hey, this may be a good idea, it may not be a good idea, but hey, I'll help you find some help, and you know, we can run it by some professionals and see if that's something that suits you. Yeah. I don't, you know, sometimes I hear guys that have advisors that don't want them to invest into anything, and obviously, you know, they want to keep the money, so you know, they're making the percentages or whatever. So I just said, like with the agent, find somebody that suits you and somebody that's going to educate you, and somebody you feel comfortable with, not somebody that's telling you, hey, this is this, and you know, just somebody that's going to be real with you.
Yeah. So you spoke about like it's like a trend that I see, like, and you said it, players having like their parents represent them, like Lamar Jackson, players like that. I know Bobby Wagner negotiated like his own deal. What are your thoughts about that? And if a player was to do that and go that route, like, how can they make sure that like everything is the way it should be, but because it's family still, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day?
Right. And listen to the players that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
You said the Lamar Jacksons of the world, the Bobby Wagners of the world.
Yeah.
And let's jump on Lamar. So I feel like for Lamar, he's blessed. He's in a very unique situation. Like, he was going to get that money regardless with an agent or without. It's just a matter of when. So I feel like not knowing his mom personally or anything like that, I mean, I felt like she had to do her education as, you know, going out to find her attorney or something like that to read over the contract, make sure it benefits Lamar in all aspects and everything like that. And let's jump to Bobby Wagner. I think his situation was unique because was this the first year he did that?
No.
So he's been doing it. Yeah, and I feel like Bobby Wagner is a pretty smart guy. Like, he knows his market, and he's like one of those guys like Levante David of the world. They're not going to make under $10 million coming in playing linebacker. Like, they're the best at their job. So I feel like for him, he can do that. And I feel like organizations, they respect him enough to come in and do that because he's very educated, very smart, and he knows what he wants. As long as he's getting his money, let's play ball. You know what I mean?
Nah, for sure. So looking back, what were some financial mistakes that like you made early on?
Oh man, early on, let's see. Definitely, my number one was probably clubbing too much, you know what I'm saying, going to the clubs and of that stuff, and, you know, and then me, it was jewelry, always, you know, obviously young, wanted to buy jewelry, so I made those same mistakes that every athlete makes, and what else? Yeah, I think that was it. It's just clubbing and jewelry, because besides that, I'm pretty safe with everything, like, I bought a home before I bought a car, so like I just try to make it make sense. So I think just the partying and jewelry, that was it for me.
So your evolved self today, if you could go back to like your younger self and give that person advice, what would that look like?
My younger self, I would say, man, honestly, you know, chill on the clubbing and go buy a couple more watches. You know what I'm saying? You can still have that jewelry, but, you know, what type of jewelry are you buying? Are you buying the bling bling, or are you buying the Rolexes, the APs, things that are going to appreciate, which I wish I would have bought in 2013. So, you know, now that same watch, I could be sitting on for like 50 bands or 40 bands, depending on, you know, which one I bought.
So appreciation for somebody that doesn't understand like what that is, like somebody fresh out of high school, how would you define what appreciation looks like in that situation?
Yeah, so, you know, say I bought a presidential Rolex in, let's say, 2014 for maybe 35 bands at the time. Now today, that watch is sitting at 60, 65. You know, so that's appreciation. The watch hasn't changed, it hasn't did anything, but the value of it, since it's so hard to even go in the stores, because Rolex just don't even have watches in the store to sell you, the watch appreciates because it's very unique.
Makes sense. So you spoke about like your younger self. So like how did your financial habits change as you like continue to grow?
Oh man, I feel like for me, it's just you got tired of doing some of that stuff. So, and then like you getting older, obviously having a family. So it's like I can't go out to the clubs every weekend. Like that's not happening. And like I feel like as you grow, like you're not buying clothes how you used to. You know, I was a big sneakerhead, so I'm not buying 100 pair of sneakers a year or nothing like that. Like it just started to be simple clothes, simple things for the family, or just, you know, buying things for my home that help it appreciate and putting the money there, or, you know, just family vacations. You know, putting the money where, you know, into experiences and stuff that I can really enjoy, and, you know, sit back with some of the homies and say, man, hey, this was a great experience and it was worth the money, you know what I mean? Rather than drinking it down your throat and then be like, man, I don't know how I got up the next morning, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a fact. So we both know like sports don't last forever. At some point you gotta move on, and that transition can be tough, and it is tough for like a lot of athletes, because like we spend our whole life to achieve that one thing, like whether that's going to college, going to the league, but then when it's time to move on, you know, it's like, shit. So my question is, how did you prepare for life after sports financially, and would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, so preparing for life after sports, man, like you said, the transition's not easy.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, just like you have to go through it. It's gonna be peaks and valleys in it. It's not gonna be pretty, but you know, for me, I had a family to fall back on. Like I had, you know, people loving me up, you know, telling me like it's gonna be okay. Like, you know, you lived your dream for 9+ years. Like you can't be out there still running around with the 21 and 22-year-old. It's like reality set in. So for me, it's just getting to a good understanding, and just, you know, just God being a big part of it, and then just kind of just coming into my own. And like financially, I felt like I was always prepared for the future. That's like I said in the conversation, like as I went up in years in the league, the spending kind of just died down on foolishness. So I was gradually preparing to set myself up, because, you know, early in my career, me and my advisor had like, how do you want your life to look after you're done? You know, I said, man, I want it to where I never have to work in life again if I don't want to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, I was always setting myself up for life after football. I feel like it's just the side ventures. It's like the things
Side
outside
quests.
of football.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, but like everybody says in life, try new things. So like for me, I tried coaching last year. You know, obviously I'm in the real estate. So just trying different passions until I find something that sticks with me and I'm comfortable with it. You know, just fatherhood is just most important right now. So yeah, man, that's really it. And just like I said, with the transition, you have to go through the tough times. Like, it's not going to be easy, because, you know, you lived your dream for all these years and you got to play at the highest level. So it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a hard, like, it's going to be a hard come down, man.
That's a fact.
Yeah, man.
So while athletes are still like in that position, still playing their sport, still competing at a high level, no matter where you at, college, pro, how can they set themselves up to be good after sports, like in the midst of everything that they're doing like now?
I mean, I would say for them, man, like, and I see a lot of guys doing it, just start finding that second passion early. Start, you know, trying new things early, and, you know, you're doing something, who knows, 8 years down the line, that might be your next passion. And I think that's what I lacked when I was in the league. I didn't, like, football was my all, my everything, like in the off season, training 3-4 times a day, you know what I'm saying, trying to eat right, you know, trying to come in at the right weight. I wasn't thinking outside of that, you know, until like year 6 or 7, like, hey, what are we gonna do after the jig's up, man?
No, that's a fact. Have you ever struggled with like feeling like you lost your purpose like after sports, and how did you overcome that, or how are you still working to overcome that?
Yeah, man, like I said, that transition, that's why I said it wasn't easy. Like we all got to fall to that pit, and like I said, you got to fall back on your morals, you know, like your principles, what made you, and that's what you know, that's start reading, start getting closer to God, and like doing those things, and, you know, still have that same healthy lifestyle. Go to the gym, go work out, go get that sweating, because your body needs it. You know, that's what you've been doing all these years, so why stop? You know, it's just not for a big fat check, you know, during the off season that you're used to, but you know, it's for your mental health and everything like that, because you want to be a great person for your family. You can't be out there drinking thinking that's going to solve the problem. You got to have real life, you know, holistic habits to build yourself back up. And like, you got to go to that pit. If you don't go to that pit, I wouldn't believe you, because like I went there, and if I didn't have my fiance, like, she had to dig me out of that, have my kids, like, I had to be good for them, because like, if I'm not, then I can't be in the house with them, just being a Debbie Downer all day, like, oh, I'm not in the league, like, oh, man, I'm not on the team this year, like, just bringing negative energy in the house. Nobody want to hear that. Like, so you gotta go through the hard times because that's what made you you, man. So doing that and just, staying mentally sharp and just developing a good life routine, I think that's the big thing.
That's a fact. So you spoke about like having some holistic approaches. You mind to share a few?
Oh yeah, man. So I'm big into like yoga and meditation and everything like that. So, and what I'm saying, just developing that routine, it'll get you where you need to be, man. It'll get you where you need to be.
It's a fact. So I want to chime in on like how to overcome like life after sports, cause I like we was talking about, like I don't feel like it's talked about enough, and really it just boiled down to like, what are your other passions? Like what are your other interests? Like what are you skilled at? Like what'll help wake you up in the morning time? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Since school and football is number one at that time, like doing like those side missions, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes like maybe on the weekend or whenever you get that time to, you know what I'm saying? Like if you like art, shit, going to art museums, going to go paint, whatever. But God, I think like that's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. So I speak for me. What helped me get out of that was God, for real. So it's because up until that point, it's like I'm pursuing my dream of going to the league, but that's my dream. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like God probably got something else. Mm-hmm. So, God is the way, and you just gotta like, well, for me personally, just like submit and ask for the path to be, laid out. Mm-hmm. And then once it is laid out, you still gotta put the work in. So yeah, but let me ask you this question. A lot of athletes and pros and in the college now, like you see it's becoming more. I'm not saying it wasn't happening before, but it's becoming more widespread for like players to openly speak about God and Jesus and whatever their religious beliefs are. You got any thoughts on that?
No, man. I think it's big. I think that's major, especially guys bringing that to the forefront, because I mean that's why we're all here, right? To further God's kingdom. So I think that's really major when I hear guys like C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, they give thanks to God, because ultimately, like, He's giving you the will to do all of this and to live this beautiful dream, to be on this platform. Like, without Him, what I'm saying, you're not there. So I think you saying that's major, man, because like He's the center of everything. He's the core of everything, and I think long as you keep Him at the core and keep that blind faith, like, He'll show you that next path. And I like you said for yourself, I think you're on that, with the journalism, the NIL, doing the interviews, because, you seem to have fun with it. Yeah. And like I said, you open my eyes to just how much you can do with it and not just pigeonhole yourself to a certain idea that you got for yourself. So I think, God's shining His light on you, and it's shown in a major way, man, and that's big. That's big.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Lost my thought. But
yeah, man, it's major, man. I'm telling you.
Keep that going. Lost my thought.
So, like, let me ask you a question. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to, like, so, like coming from college, like, how was your transition? Was it really difficult, or for some people, I know it's super seamless. Like, hey, I know I got this corporate job lined up at such and such. My parents own this company. Like, I know I got plan B and C over here. Like, how was your transition? Like, how was it very seamless, or did you have a dip and then a peak, or how was that?
It's a great question. So my transition, I did my pro day, did that. Had an opportunity in the CFL. Didn't really pan out, so it was time to move on. Like went back home. Had to figure it out, and that moment was tough because like you still kind of in between, where like you still got to train and be prepared, but also it's like you got to like damn like what's about to be next. So that's that. So I ended up being home for like a year and a half or so. Submitted to God, just like we said. Had an opportunity to go to University of Miami. Did a real estate development program out there. Did that for like a year and a half. So transition into corporate, which is a completely different monster from like what us athletes are accustomed to. But I would say that I've transitioned, or God has transitioned me out of corporate, and like put me on this path to like do all this stuff, like just having this conversation for real. I feel like I'm honing in on like what my skills are, what my passions are, and I'm doubling down, and it don't always look pretty. Like I had ups and downs. I had a down like last week, you know what I'm saying? But,
Yeah.
You know, but I'm here today, feel good, my mind right, and I'm grateful. I'm excited for everything to come.
Nah, that's big, man. That's big. Because, like I said, I always wonder how people get to where they are today. And so seeing you where you are today and how you got that where you are today, did you always know that you wanted to get into like, you know, I would put this as broadcasting and journalism? Did you see that for yourself when you was at U of I?
No, I didn't. So I started off, I wanted to get into business school, like we just talking about,
Right.
but just with like the sport and the demand of everything, like it really was just like too much to do at one time. But to answer your question, like I really wanted to be a GM at first, like an NFL GM.
Nice.
Had that for a little bit. Then I wanted to be like an NFL owner.
You going for all the big dog positions.
You feel me?
Hey, shoe high.
You feel me?
Shoe high.
So,
shoe high.
so had that, and then real estate came in the picture, and I got some ideas with that that maybe we can speak about off camera, but to help the youth and the kids so they could have other like opportunities, like not just thinking that they gotta do sports and entertainment. So yeah.
Okay. Now, my last question, man, because like I said, you know, I'm trying to get into the journalism world, man, because like you know, very camera shy.
That's good.
Do you think this is something that needs to be taught in school? Because you know how to speak on camera, how to articulate yourself, or is that something you just learn in the natural life course itself?
It's absolutely something that needs to be taught in school, amongst other things. but yeah, to your point, I think I took a public speaking class like my first year at Illinois, and that was incredible because I'm an introverted person for real. So like this person, the version of who I am today, is way different than who I was before. But I'm learning how to like turn it on and turn it off. Cause like you said, like these conversations need to be had, and it's an important skill. Like no matter if you in front of the camera, behind the camera, like whatever, and especially with social media, it's like we were speaking about. Like it's endless opportunities out here, and really to kind of circle back to that other point, I feel like God moved me away from corporate so I could create my own opportunities for myself, and like I could do what I want to do, but of course it's to give all the glory back to God for sure.
No, okay, no, that's big time. Okay.
But those are great questions. Those are great questions. I appreciate that. We got anything else?
Nah, man, I thought it was a great interview. We hit on some great points, man. Like, thank you for having me. Like I said, we can definitely collab in the future, man. I love what you're doing. And like I said, I like every post, man, and keep it going, man, and keep inspiring the youth and keep putting them on the platform and keep educating them, because, I mean, we need it. Like, we got all hands on deck for the next generation, man.
No, that's a fact. I appreciate you. The conversations that we done had, and even for taking this opportunity to share like your experiences, and like I want to use these opportunities to like show like the youth that like y'all could do anything, you know, like don't let nobody box you in just because somebody tell you no, just because your family don't agree with it. Like if it's in your heart, go after that. And it's gonna be ups and downs with it, but that's where you just gotta have the faith. You just gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep believing, and take it one day at a time. And just believe it's all gonna play out in your favor. So I appreciate you, Akeem. I'm sure we're gonna do more stuff in the future. And signing off.
Thank you, man. God bless.